Hi, soluble salts. Unfortunately, you have to remember some of these practical procedures because I do ask you, I've seen this coming up, practicing some past papers, this comes up quite a bit, which is a bit annoying. Right, so soluble salts then, that's the salts that dissolve when you make them. Now, I've put a picture of a beaver there because when I searched for beaker, a beaver came up and I thought it was a shame to waste it, so I put it there. Anyway, to make a soluble salt, you can put an acid and an alkali together, an acid and a base together like this. This is a base, and you can put a metal and an acid together as well, and they'll all make some lovely soluble salts. Well, mostly anyway. So we're going to look at this one, copper oxide, which is a base, plus sulfuric acid. Now hopefully you know that if you add sulfuric acid to something and you're trying to make a salt, it will make copper sulfate, because all sulfuric acids make copper sulfate, and left behind in this lovely thing here should be some water. There you go. So this is what we're going to do. Here's our sulfuric acid, and here is a spatula of copper oxide, and we put that in there. Okay, high tech, I know. Look, I've got, watch this. Look, that was good though, come on. Right, so we've got in here now our copper oxide sitting in the sulfuric acid. So we need to stir it a bit. Yeah, okay, right, you stir it a bit to try and get it to dissolve, because it doesn't dissolve, copper oxide. How annoying is that? It's not going to dissolve because it's insoluble. But we're going to make a soluble salt, but this is insoluble here. So what we have to do then is we have to get our Bunsen burner and heat it up a bit. So you heat it up to speed up this reaction between the sulfuric acid and the copper oxide. Okay, to begin with here, when you've added the copper oxide, you need to keep on adding it until no more reacts. Okay, so keep adding it. Heat it up like this so that we can get some of it reacting. You're always going to have some left, okay, but it will be reacting, that copper oxide and sulfuric acid, and you'll end up with a few crystals of copper oxide. So imagine, if you can, that it's all reacted nicely. Let's get a blue colour. Blue. Right, it all looks a bit nicely blue, so it's reacting a bit. You can see it's going a bit blue. And we've got this copper oxide left. So what we have to do next is to get a filter funnel here, filter, and a clean beaker. Let's get a beaker. Oh, hang on, beaker. Let's get one of those. Here it is. Right, a clean beaker, and we pour all this through here. Obviously we need some filter paper, so I'll draw that in. Obviously I'm not brilliant at this. Bit of filter paper. All right, we're going to pour this through here, which will trap all the copper oxide that was left behind. In here then, you'll be left with your beautiful copper sulfate, but it's in water, because we can see here that copper sulfate and water is made. So your copper oxide that's not reacted is in there, and in here you've got your copper sulfate and water. And what you do with that is, which you'd have done when you were little, I'm sure, is you put it into an evaporating dish like this, and you heat it up. All the water will evaporate, and you end up with these beautiful crystals. Now, the slower the water that evaporates, the bigger the crystal you can make. It's not quite this big, because it's just like bigger than a Bunsen burner, and that would be amazing, but no. Okay, so you first off put copper oxide into the sulfuric acid until no more can react, really. Filter that off, the copper oxide that's not reacted, and you're left with your copper sulfate, the stuff that has reacted. Heat it up to evaporate the water off it. Okay, so this is allowing it to crystallize. It's forming crystals, crystallization, crystals. Now we've made this beautiful crystal here. Okay, slowly makes a bigger crystal and then left to dry there. Just put these on to remember hydrochloric acid. If I put hydrochloric acid, I'd have made copper chloride. Sulfuric acid, copper sulfate, and nitric acid would be copper nitrate. That's how you make a soluble salt. And thanks to the beaver. Thank you.